Hello guys, welcome to the video. So in this one we're gonna do something very simple. I just want to explain access modifiers, and also I wanna talk a little bit about encapsulation. First, let's discuss what is an access modifier and what is the difference between public and private. So in C#, members of a class can be marked with an access modifier, and most common one is public and private. Public member can be accessed by other classes, and private member can only be accessed by code in the same class. Just to clarify, it means that if you make variable public, it will be available for other scripts, and if you make variable private, it will be available only inside of a script that it was created in. And by default, fields, properties, and methods are private, and classes are public. Now we're gonna try to make all of the variables private if we can. This will help us to keep the code clean, readable, and also this is just a good practice to keep your variables private if you can. Let's go to the tower script over here and let's discuss it a little bit. So before I made all of the variables public just to make it easier to explain without confusing you. Because when you make variable public, you can see it in the inspector. But actually, you don't have to make them public all the time. More to that, you should make variable public only if you really have a good reason to do so. Otherwise, try to keep variables private. Now you might ask me, if I make variable private, then it won't be visible in the inspector. So why do I make it private then if I cannot assign it? Well, in that case, you're gonna make variable private, just like that. And before that, you're gonna type serialize field. Now this variable makes it private, and at the same time it will be exposed in the inspector, and you can change it if you want. Why do we need to make it private at all? Why can't we keep all of the variables public? Well, the reason is when you have a couple of scripts, it's fine, but when you have an entire project which has 40 or 50 scripts, you can by accident modify the values. You can make a mistake that will be very difficult to track later on. It will be very difficult to debug it. So in general, the rule is make it private and make it public only if you really have a good reason to do so. Let's change this to serialize field as well, serialize field private. And over here as well, serialize field. And by the way, if you type it like that, it's going to be private by default, but I like to type word private so it's obvious. Same goes for bullet speed. You're going to do serialize field private. This one can be private as it is. For the enemy, it's fine. For these two, it's the same. We're going to do serialize field private. And for the enemy creator, I want to show you something here, something very cool. So we need to assign enemy creator into this field over here, right? Sometimes you cannot assign things into the field manually in Unity by dragging it into inspector, because maybe you have some objects created at runtime when player plays the game. And in that case, obviously we cannot open Unity in the middle of the game and assign the variable. For that, we can do something different. We can take this enemy creator and we can find this variable in the code. We're gonna open awake method. And if I didn't tell you about awake before, it is similar to start method, but awake is called before the start. And it's good to assign variables in the awake, because if you do it in the awake, then you can use them in the start. So if you need to set some default value or find a component, better to do it in the awake. Okay, we're gonna do like that. Enemy creator equals to, and we can type find first object by type enemy creator. So if you have a single object with this component, then it will assign it automatically. If you have two of them, it's going to find the first one. Now let's go back to Unity. Let's delete it from this field and let's go to play mode. And you can see enemy creator was assigned and functionality works same as before. Very good. Now let's go back to the script. And since we are assigning it in the script, and since we don't need to see it in the inspector to debug something because we know how it works, we can just simply make it private. Okay? And now we can see the code we have is a little bit cleaner. It is safer. Now we cannot modify some things by the accident. And still it is pretty easy to read. Okay. Now let's go to enemy creator script and do the same. For amount to spawn, we're gonna make it a serialized field private. Same goes for this enemy prefab. And for the list, we have to talk about it. So we really have a good reason to keep it public, because we're getting access to this list through tower over here when we find in closest enemy. But the deal is that when you do it like that, you have direct access to the enemy list, and by accident you can do something wrong to this list. And again, it's not like I'm not seeing what I'm doing when I'm modifying the list, but when you're making a big project, it's really difficult to keep in mind everything. It's really difficult to follow every variable in every script. It's basically impossible. So you have to protect yourself from yourself. You have to protect yourself from the accidents. That is basically the reason we're doing it. And what we're going to do now is called encapsulation. Encapsulation is a fundamental concept of object-oriented programming, which is also referred as OOP. And it's really difficult for me to pronounce that, but what we can do, have to say it anyway. So one of the ways to encapsulate something is to make list private. I'm going to make it private. And now because we made it private, we need to initialize the list. So I'm going to do equals to new list over transforms. And then we still need to get access to the enemies list. And now on the tower over here, you can see it shows us an error that says it is inaccessible due to its protection level, because now it is private, so we don't have access to it. But still, somehow we need to get the information about the list. And here, encapsulation comes in hand. This is what you call controlled access. You're just making a method that gives you this private variable. Let's do this. Public list of transforms is going to be enemy list method, just the name of it. And then it's gonna, we can put a lambda expression here, which can be considered as return. So actually you can just type it like that, return enemies, all right? And now we can save this, and we can get access to this variable over here by using this method. And we can go back to the tower, and instead of typing enemy creator, we can type enemy creator, enemy list. Same goes here. Enemy creator, enemy list. Same goes here, and over here, and here, and here, and here. Okay, this was a bit confusing, so I'm gonna wait for a second so you can take a look at this. Yeah, we have enemy list method that returns list of enemies on the enemy creator. Again, this might seem like really unnecessary. I mean, why would you create an extra method for this if you can just get access to the variables directly? But this is how it's supposed to be done, honestly, because let's say, again, you have 20 or 50 scripts in the project, you have some bug, and you don't know why it's happening, why this list of enemies is changed somewhere, you cannot find where. And now you have to look through entire script to see what is wrong. But when you have only one place to access the script, the method, you can easily find the error by just checking, like, okay, something is happening with the enemy list. And this enemy list is used in 6 places over here. So I can check each of them like that and see what causes the problem. And in opposite to the variable, that is not possible. You'll just have to manually look everywhere to find what is wrong. So just simply trust me here. This is how it's supposed to be done. This is what you call encapsulation. And this is what we will try to do a lot in our course. Lastly, I want to say that you can write it a bit differently if you want to save the space on the screen. Instead of typing return enemies, you can put this lambda expression and type enemies. This one is like basically saying return. Yeah, very similar to that. All right. Yeah, this was something important I wanted to share with you. And we're gonna use this on practice a lot. So if it does not make much sense right now, just stay with me. It's gonna make sense for sure. Now we did protect everything. We cannot make any accidental mistake. I love it so much. Yeah, I think this is it. You know, we could do some more things in the crash course to learn some more of the basics, but I think it's better if we discuss those things in the main project. So let's go to the next video. I'm gonna draw a conclusion and then we're gonna develop the main project. All right, I'll see you in the next one.